All right, let me get a volunteer to read the objective for the day. What is our objective for the day? Anaya?
Be able to identify language that
foreshadows
a tragic event and thunder rolling in the mountains.
Thank you. So today we're going to be learning and working with this concept of foreshadowing. We touched on it very briefly as we read the crossover, and as we're going through this quick lesson, I want to remind you of where we saw it in the crossover. But foreshadowing, going backwards, is a technique that is used by authors to give clues about what will happen later in a story. It's a technique that authors use, please sit up, Jordan, where the author will give the readers clues about something that's going to happen later in the story. And for us as readers, it allows us the opportunity to kind of play like we're detectives and figuring out what we think those clues are going to tell us about something later in the story. Foreshadowing is usually implicit, which means it's not something that's going to be very in your face. You have to really pay attention to those small details in the story and think about what could these details be suggesting that's going to happen in the future. For example, excellent tracking at Algernon. For example, if you're reading a story and it says the clouds suddenly became dark, that's a little bit of foreshadowing. That's giving you a hint that maybe something bad is about to happen because it went from being bright and sunny to now all of a sudden the clouds are becoming dark. As I said, we saw this in the crossover. I'm going to read a poem from the crossover. This poem is called Too Good. And you all will probably remember this poem as I'm reading. Lately, I've been feeling like everything in my life is going right. I beat JV in Madden. Our team is undefeated. I scored an A+ on the vocabulary test. Plus, Mom's away at a conference, which means so is the assistant principal. I am a little worried, though, because as Coach likes to say, you can get used to things going well, but you're never prepared for something going wrong. So in this part of the book, everything was going great for Josh. Life was good. Like he said, he had just gotten an A+ on his test. His mom was out of town. It's like everything's going great. You're never prepared for something to go wrong. And if we remember, it was in that very next poem, he looks up in the stands and his dad is clutching his chest having a heart attack. And after that, more and more bad things started to happen. The author gave us that little clue in those words, you're never prepared for something going wrong. That was a clue to let us know that there was probably something bad that was about to happen. And sure enough, a whole bunch of bad stuff happened. So as we're reading today, we're going to really be paying attention to those words and phrases that the author is using and thinking about what could that tell us is going to happen in the future. Now let's look at that first sentence of the first paragraph. There was ice on the ground and the wind blew hard. We suffered from the cold. What event could that sentence be foreshadowing? What's something that could happen in the future that's related to this sentence? Turn and talk with your neighbor. What's something that could happen in the future? Okay, so what happens in the future is something How would this make it so you think they're getting stuck? Excellent, I like that. So what's something that detail could be foreshadowing? Jakaya, share what you said.
They can freeze to death.
Excellent. Maybe that's foreshadowing that they're going to freeze to death. There was ice on the ground. We suffered from the cold. Samaya.
They can get stuck because there was ice on the ground.
So maybe they get stuck and can't even continue because it's ice on the ground. Jordan.
I think like it might since I think it's gonna become winter, and then when it starts to snow, they won't be able to travel anymore, and then the soldiers will catch up to them. And
Okay. Excellent prediction. Amari?
I'm gonna agree with Jordan about like when it snowed, like on the page it said that the old people said their bones were sore. So when they try to like to walk away, it's gonna be hard for the old people to go because their bones gonna be sore and they can't hardly walk.
Excellent job, guys. Hands down. Excellent. So that's how you identify foreshadowing. That was a very simple sentence, but we were able to take that sentence and make all of these wonderful predictions. Notice we said things that were different. Samaya said that they may get trapped because it's ice on the ground. Jakaya said maybe it's foreshadowing that they're going to freeze to death because it said they suffered from the cold. Amari kind of said, well, maybe they're going to get stuck, and now that adds in the glucose. So all of those things are correct. Those predictions are all correct based off of that little bit of foreshadowing we see from the author. Let's continue. So what we're going to be doing on this sheet, there are 4 different quotations from this chapter that we just read. And each of these quotations are quotes that we can then make predictions about something bad that may happen in the future. So we're going to do the first one together. Then I'm going to give you all about 15 minutes to work with your neighbors and analyze each of these quotations and think about what event could this be foreshadowing. What is a tragic bad thing that could be happening, that may happen in the future? So let's look at this first example. Please read it nice and loud. Darius?
Their eyes were hollow and their gaze was there was no joy in the count.
So let's think about it. What's an event that could possibly happen in the future that this quote is foreshadowing? What's something tragic that could happen in the future that may cause them to not have joy? That may cause their eyes to be hollow, their gaze dim, like they're just so down. What's something that can cause that? I would love to call you, but your audience. What's an event that could happen in the future that this quote could be foreshadowing? Donovan? Okay, so maybe there's an ambush like we saw before. Angela, thanks for sitting.
I think they might get captured and put as prisoners and then be sad.
Because it also says there was no joy in the camp, so it was a big group, so maybe they get captured. Excellent. Jordan?
I think that the group was going to attack again, and then more of the people might die.
Excellent, excellent. So I know we're all going to be saying some of the same things. So let's combine those things. So we said that they're going to get ambushed. We said that a lot of people may die. And we also said that maybe they get captured somehow and sent to a reservation. Let's write those things down. All of your responses in each box should begin with I predict, because we're making predictions. We don't know if these things are actually happening. These are just the things the quotes are foreshadowing to us. So let's write I predict the blue coats will, one of the first things we said, our teammate Donovan, he said the blue coats will ambush them. We said that they're going to kill a bunch. So I predict the blue coats will ambush them, kill many people, and my teammate in the back said, and capture the rest. So Mrs. Marzette took all of those ideas that you all said. We said maybe this means that they're going to get ambushed. There's no joy. They weren't happy last time they got ambushed. They weren't happy the last time a lot of people got killed. And then certainly, if they were captured, that's definitely going to cause them not to have joy. So you and your seatmates, you're going read those next 3 quotations from this chapter, and you're going to make a prediction. What event, what's something that could possibly happen in the next chapter that we're going to read, or in the next chapters, that this quotation is foreshadowing? You have about 15 minutes to work with your seatmates. You may begin. All right, for your exit ticket, says what language does the author use in chapter 16 to show something bad will happen in the future? What language does the author use in this chapter and show something bad will happen in the future? We're only looking in chapter 16, which we read. You need to make sure to restate the question. Don't just give me what he said. You need to restate the question and then start your response. And I want you to give me 2 direct quotes. So remember, that means we're copying word for word from the book. 2 direct quotes that something bad is going to happen in the future. So I should see us turning through our books and responding to your exit ticket. This is silent and independent. Make sure you restate the question in your response.